Our next question is relating to aid volunteers like ourselves. I wanted to ask you, in what capacity can we, aid volunteers based here in the US, help you with the campaigns and the work that you undertake in India, and especially I think around the right to food work that you're doing?
See, as I said again in the morning, I really value the fact that young people here, half a planet away from their own countries, remain engaged emotionally and otherwise. And I see a value in that in itself. I do believe that many of these battles are battles that have to be fought first in the hearts and minds of people. And it is really, our government will act in a certain kind of way if we believe that it should act in a certain kind of way. And I think that it is in raising these issues and keeping up these questions of debate that it's important. On the other hand, I have a word of caution as well. I do believe, this is a very problematic thing to say, but I would like to say it in all honesty. I do believe that organizations like aid, which are based here, need to also be very conscious of retaining a sense of humility when they engage with people working. And there is, if you're not careful, the fact that you control money sometimes gives you a sense of having power. And I think that you must recognize that A, it's not your personal money, and B, even if it was, the much more difficult work is being done by people who have chosen not to make that money and are doing work. So if there has to be a hierarchical relationship, it has to be you having the relationship of which is lower in the hierarchy as compared to the people working. But when we control money, we often tend to push the hierarchy. And I've observed it gently from a distance several times. So I think that it's important for you to engage and support, but in a way with a great deal of humility. So that's one thing that I'd like to say. And it's really tough, I think, to think about what we can do. I would have, I'm just sort of parachuting in, and I think that having small amounts of money and being, available to make a difference. Clearly, you choose, you have to make choices. I would say fellowships, for instance, would be a really valuable thing to do. And the more that one can support young people about your age who have chosen, made different life choices, and would benefit from support and friendship and an assistance that is given in a way that is not patronizing and respectful, would be really helpful. I mean, if you could support 200, 300 people working on these issues in different parts of the country, I really think that that's of great value.
One small thing, like the new FCRA rules, actually the government changed it so that they added a new clause saying the NGOs which support work in India should not support work which causes any political activity. And that is very, very broadly defined. That the very thing you said as to support fellows is going to become very hard for organizations like us. So we actually suspended the Hathi program for now, mainly because of that. And I think that is one of the main things aid can do to cause a big change. Again, the government is acting again.
We'll have to struggle with. I mean, you see that you talk about it here. I mean, and you'd be surprised. We had applied for an FCRA, and it took us almost 10 years. And with all, I didn't want to. I wanted to move in the normal course, and we were actually. I mean, it was turned down repeatedly because I did strong positions on issues like communalism, etc.
Which organization?
The Center for Equity Studies, which I am a director of. And at one place, I said I want to know the reasons through the RTI. And the reason formally that I found on paper was that we engage in political activities. And the reason was that one of the activities we said was the political education of youth for secularism and democracy. And it was really so interesting that that was actually seen as work that disqualified us for an CRA. And so I think that you know, these are battles that we need to fight. But I don't think that those are reasons why we should not. I mean, I still would say a fellowship program is important. I'd also say that I think that sitting here, there's a certain kind of radicalism in inverted commas that we often choose to value over work which is seen as humanitarian work. I've always found this distinction between work of humanitarian work and work connected with justice issues as an artificial division. People like Nyogi talked about Sangharsh or Nirman, and Gandhiji also talked about constructive work through his own. I mean, I think people have recognized that each actually are deeply linked with the other, and I feel that work of compassion, say of the kind that Mother Teresa does, if it is not informed by a sense of justice, is reduced. But equally, work of justice, which is not informed by a sense of compassion, to me is also reduced. And I think that that you should not hesitate to. I mean, for instance, working on the right to food. We are working, for instance, we've decided to start a program of actually reclaiming the idea of a langar, which was part of our culture, which we have lost, and trying to do it in an interfaith way. So I've been looking at that. Now, at one level, it can be seen as purely charity work, and so non-radical, and it's not something that we'd like to do. But to my mind, it actually, if it is done correctly, in an appropriate way, it can do many things. It's a way of engaging with people of disadvantage in a way that is respectful, which our cultures understood and which we have lost along the way. We do it in an interfaith way. It can also be a way of bringing together different groups. The fact that rich and poor people of different castes and communities sit together and eat is itself something, again, in our old traditions, people understood as being radical. So I would say that there's scope for humanitarian work around the right to food with disadvantaged people, which I would really feel that we should try to explore, and which would face less problems, but actually have, in the heart of it, they have roots in radical tradition as well. And then I think working on policy, with the few groups that are working on policy issues around the right to food is valuable. And then finally there's the campaign, the Right to Food campaign, which is very under-resourced and would really value support. What they're doing is trying to hold government accountable. They work closely with the Commissioner's office. They bring evidence on starvation deaths, on the failure of implementation of PBS and other programs. And we use that to hold governments accountable. So work of that kind again would be useful to do. And there are many other things. I mean, this is just illustrative. I think there's a lot that one can do.
I think now we have more of a broader question about some of the choices that you have made. In 2002, in protest, you resigned from the civil services in India, and you've also since then taken on some very challenging issues. So, given that you've been in the system for a while, and then now you're still part of it in some ways, but not probably as directly engaged as you were as an IAS officer, what personally motivates you to take on some of these challenging issues? And what motivated you when you were younger, and what motivates you now